Hi, I'm Jason, and this is the Cultural Breakdown. It's pretty remarkable to see the media spin trying to put on Indiana Jones and a Dial of Destiny just to try to say that it didn't lose money when everyone knows that that's the case. I mean, this was declared a bomb after its first weekend, but now we see some cope like this. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny finally breaks even at the global box office. Oh, really? It broke even at the box office. So, what does it say in this article? As of this morning, the sequel, directed by James Mangold, has earned $302 million, finally matching the estimated $300 million it cost to be made. Oh, wow. So that's how it works. However much it makes at the global box office and then the reported production budget, that's all it takes to break even? No, you idiot. That's not what it takes to break even. I mean, what kind of crackhead is actually writing this stuff right here? This is not how the box office actually works. For people who don't actually know, there's certain things called marketing budgets and distribution costs and whatnot. If this article actually breaks it down, this was made before the Indiana Jones was actually released. The film's budget is $300 million, with an estimated $100 million spent on marketing on top of that. That's an estimate, and if that's actually a low end right now, it's probably much more because the marketing campaign for this was bigger than what they actually, or bigger than an average movie. I mean, because they had like a lot of merchandise built up at the parks. They had Indiana Jones characters. They had other food things at the parks. They had that Applebee's giveaway and stuff like that. So, but let's just say it is $100 million spent on marketing. Meaning that Lucasfilm has to make $400 million just to break even. Okay, $400 million, so they're only $100 million off? No, they're not. With theaters often taking half the money from movies, exactly, because theaters can't just exist on concessions alone. They get a certain cut of the box office, and the price depends on whether it's domestically, internationally, or whatever, but as a rule of thumb, it's 50% of the box office the theaters get. So that means it needs to make around $800 million to break even. So they just crossed the $300 million mark. Okay, well, that means they need to make around 2.7 million or 2.7 times more at the box office globally in order to be considered a success. Now, when you compare that to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that made around $790 million at the box office. And that had a $100 million opening weekend. This movie had around a $60 million opening weekend. And it needs to make a minimum of this to be considered a success. In other words, they're losing money. And of course, that's also assuming that they're accurate on reporting it. I mean, look at what they did with Doctor Strange. I mean, they underreported their budget by $100 million. And that's just this movie. I mean, guaranteed Indiana Jones probably underreporting their budget. I mean, it's around $300 million. It most likely is closer to 350 mark, but I'm just saying, I'm being charitable and saying it's just the $300 million that they reported. That still means they need to make around $800 million, which they're probably not going to do. And if you actually look at the box office now, it's still at third place now. I mean, behind Sound of Freedom, a movie that cost like $14 million to make. And what has this made so far? $85 million on just domestically. So yeah, this one's actually doing pretty good. It's making its money back because it didn't have such a crazy budget. Now, granted, Mission Impossible is in the same boat where it needs to make a lot more money. I mean, it's tracking pretty well for an opening weekend, at least globally. So, or the international box office, the domestic was a little light on its opening weekend, but internationally it was doing pretty good. So is this going to make money? That's still up in the air. But what's not up in the air is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny being a complete box office bomb. 303 million, excuse me. This is updated from the last one. So yeah. And now look at this too. Look at the drop off, 67% drop from the first week. Then the next week, where was that? 57% drop. And also they're losing the amount of theaters that they're actually showing this into. So there's no way anyone could look me in the eye and say that they're actually going to make money off of this movie. The only question is, how big of a box office bomb is this going to be? And this is all because Kathleen Kennedy does not know how to run her studio. She was basically good as a coffee girl for Lucas and Spielberg. So they thought that she knew what she was doing because she was on those sets. Well, no. I mean, and is she going to be fired? Of course not. They're not going to get rid of her. She's just going to still stay with the company until she decides to leave, because that's how Disney is. And that's why they're in the toilet with pretty much everything that they're doing right now. But let me know what you think about all this in the comments. And if you like this video, make sure you click that like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with the latest news. Thank you.